It all started with the sound of metal groaning and a sudden jolt that made the fluorescent lights above flicker. The elevator shuddered violently, then came to a dead stop. A deep silence filled the space, except for the faint hum of electricity. In that silence stood two people from two completely different worlds, a man in worn work boots, pushing an old mop bucket, and a woman in a sharp-tailored suit worth more than his monthly salary. Neither knew that the next few hours would change their lives forever. David Miller had been working as a janitor for 3 years, ever since his wife passed away and he was left raising his 10-year-old daughter, Emily, alone. Every dollar mattered, every overtime shift counted. He had learned to keep his head down, stay invisible, and avoid trouble. But trouble, as fate would have it, found him that evening in the most unexpected way. The woman trapped with him was Claire Reynolds, the CEO of Reynolds & Company. To David, she was a distant figure, a name on the company letterhead, someone he'd only ever seen in glossy magazine covers in the break room. She was known for her perfection, her intimidating presence, and the way she could walk into a boardroom and silence a room without raising her voice. But now, she wasn't walking anywhere. She was standing across from him, frowning at the emergency panel that wasn't responding. "Great," she muttered under her breath. "Of all days." David cleared his throat. "Looks like we're stuck. I'll try the emergency phone." He picked it up, but all he got was static. Her eyes narrowed. Of course. Perfect timing. Minutes turned into an hour. The air grew warmer, the silence heavier. David noticed her tapping her phone furiously, but there was no signal. At first, she seemed irritated by his presence, standing as far from him as the small space allowed. But eventually, she broke the silence. "You work here, don't you?" "Yeah," he said simply. "Janitorial. Nights mostly." Something softened in her expression, just a fraction. "And you're here after hours because—" "My daughter," he said with a half-smile. "She needs braces. Extra shifts help." Her eyes flickered with something he couldn't read. "That's admirable." They talked in small bursts after that, about Emily's love for drawing, about how Claire had once dreamed of being an artist before her father pushed her into business school. The more they spoke, the less she seemed like the cold, unreachable CEO everyone feared. She actually laughed, when David shared a story about Emily painting their cat's whiskers green by accident. But just as the tension between them began to fade, a loud metallic clank echoed through the shaft. The elevator shook. David instinctively stepped in front of Claire, shielding her as dust fell from above. Something wasn't right. He pressed his ear to the doors and froze. From the faint noises outside, it wasn't just a mechanical failure. There were voices, sharp, hurried, and low. He couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable, urgency, and something dangerous. Claire's eyes widened. "What is it?" David lowered his voice. "I think someone's messing with the system. This isn't just a breakdown." It turned out he was right. Unbeknownst to Claire, there had been a corporate leak, and she was the target. Someone wanted her trapped long enough to get access to sensitive documents in her office. David's mind raced. If whoever was behind this realized she was with someone, especially a witness, things could escalate quickly. When the elevator doors finally pried open halfway, by someone not wearing an official uniform, David didn't hesitate. He yanked Claire back, blocking her from view. The man outside tried to force the door wider, but David slammed it shut with all his strength. "Stay behind me," he ordered, his voice calm but firm. Claire looked at him, startled by the sudden steel in his tone. For the first time, she wasn't in control, and yet, she trusted him. David spotted the hatch above. "Boost me up," he said. She blinked at him, but then nodded. Together, they managed to get him through the small opening. He climbed into the dark, narrow shaft, then reached down to help her. They moved slowly, carefully, until they found an emergency exit to another floor. By the time they emerged into the dimly lit hallway, David's shirt was torn, his hands scraped, but he didn't care. They made their way to the security room, where he called for help. The culprits were caught before they could carry out their plan. Later, when the building was swarming with police, Claire stood beside David. "You didn't just protect me," she said quietly. "You saved more than you know." He shrugged, embarrassed. "Just did what anyone would do." "No," she said firmly. "Not anyone." The next week, David was called into her office, not the janitor's supply room, not the break room, the CEO's office. Claire offered him something that left him speechless, a promotion to head of security, with full training and benefits. "You've proven you can protect what matters most," she said. David accepted, not just for himself, but for Emily. That night, when he told his daughter, she hugged him so tightly he thought his heart might burst. Months later, as David walked Emily to school, he thought about that night in the elevator. How two people from different worlds had been thrown together by chance, and how courage, in the most ordinary man, could change everything. And if you're watching this, maybe there's something in your life you think is too small to matter.